Coming up on Mountain News at 6, healthcare professionals are urging caution for seniors and those at risk of heat-related illnesses. And a new report looks at the gap in funding between Kentucky's school districts.
Plus, we are watching out for more storms into this evening. Some of those could pack a punch. Your full forecast coming up as Mountain News at 6 starts now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 6.
We've seen the heat index above 100 in many places today, while others are seeing strong to severe storms. What can you expect if you have outdoor plans tonight? First Alert meteorologist Cameron Aaron has the latest. Cameron, busy night.
Yes, Steve, it is busy, and we stay busy into this evening. We are watching out for a couple of stronger storms right now. Some light rain in the Big Sandy, nothing too heavy here. But as we zoom into a whopper of a thunderstorm near the Mountain Parkway from Stanton over to Campton, some very heavy rainfall, some gusty winds. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning in place, giving you that first alert in Irvin, also Beattyville. Some heavy showers not too far away as this continues pushing off to the south. If it holds together, it could come into places in Breathitt County later on this evening as well as it pushes off to the south. Again, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning in place for that storm. Also have a flash flood warning near Moorhead as heavy rain does continue to fall near the I-64 corridor as well. A very unique scenario here because we do have some areas with pouring rain while others are baking in the summer heat. Check this out. Some of us in the 70s, some of us in the middle 90s, 93 for Somerset, 95 in Monticello. And once you factor in that moisture and that dew point, it feels like 104 in London. Feels like 74 though in Jackson, so that rain cooled air has some of us feeling nice while others are feeling very warm at this hour, and that will continue as well as we go into this evening. Now, thanks to that rain cooled air, the heat advisory was canceled for a large chunk of the region, but it does continue for all the counties in the Cumberland Valley, and that will last until 8 o'clock this evening. But more showers on the way by this evening, and then more rain chances for the weekend as well. Those details coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Cameron, thanks. Those extreme temperatures impact everyone, but older adults are more prone to heat stress than you may realize. WYMT's Olivia Calfee has some tips to ensure everyone stays safe as the temperatures go up.
Stay cool, stay hydrated, and stay informed. Those are three things to remember as temperatures near the upper 90s. And older adults are extremely susceptible to that heat, but nurse practitioner Carol Sloan says there are ways to prevent heat stress.
A lot of times they can be on certain medications or they can have some health issues that puts them at higher risk. Plus, just being a little bit more frail too with the heat. It's really important that they stay cool and hydrated.
If your doctor limits the amount you drink or has you on water pills, always ask how much you should drink during extreme heat. And remember, there are things to avoid.
Avoiding like caffeine and alcohol are big things too. A lot of them already are diabetic and stuff, so if they do like zero sugar as far as Gatorades, Pedialytes are awesome, and they actually have like adult Pedialytes they can drink as well too.
And wear sunscreen because a sunburn can impact your body's ability to cool down. Plus, if you're headed to a Friday night football game, make sure that you wear loose clothes and find shade if you end up not feeling well.
They're starting to feel dizzy, they're spiking a fever, they're feeling, foggy-headed, not acting right, then that's usually when they need to see their doctor or go to the ER.
Those who are at the highest risk include people 65 and older, those who are overweight, and people who suffer from heart disease or high blood pressure. In Perry County, Olivia Calfee, WYMT Mountain News.
The most common symptoms of heat-related illnesses are muscle cramps, headaches, nausea, or vomiting. Now, you can stay up to date with the latest weather updates on our website, WYMT.com, and make sure you download that weather app as well. With schools adjusting practice schedules due to the heat, keeping athletes hydrated is critical. Athletic trainers are suggesting extra ways to remain hydrated through practices and games. With college football starting right around the corner, athletes are grappling with ways to remain hydrated despite the heat. One tactic a UK football trainer uses for hydration is pushing athletes to replace electrolytes while simultaneously hydrating.
When you're doing physical activity, you tend to sweat a lot, but if it's a hot day, it tends to make you sweat more, and a lot of times that sweat includes a lot of electrolytes like sodium, chloride, potassium, and these are really important electrolytes in our body. So in order to make sure we're replenishing those, we need to be able to give athletes more than just water.
Electrolyte drinks are now widely used by trainers, dietitians, and athletes across the country. Kentucky will use $2 million to improve dementia care in the state. The money will be used to create a statewide Alzheimer's and related disease coalition. The coalition will be tasked with implementing programs to enhance early detection of dementia and supporting caregivers who take care of dementia patients. The Alzheimer's Association says 75,000 people 65 and older have the disease here in the Commonwealth. The National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health is touring eastern Kentucky, offering free black lung screenings. WYMT's Chandler Wilcox tells us how the disease continues to impact the region.
Institute examiners have noticed an increase in cases of black lung in coal miners.
There was a change in mining practices in, I guess, probably around 2000, and where they started cutting more rock than just coal because the coal seams are thinner in this area now.
The Institute travels to different areas, like here in Whitesburg, where black lung disease may be more prevalent.
When we go to places like this and we collect data, we're able to see spikes in different areas. So we know that this would be considered a hot spot.
The disease often leads victims to having trouble breathing, especially in extreme conditions.
When it gets hot and stuff, hard to breathe, stuff like that. Sometimes at night I wake up, can't breathe too good, but I got an inhaler, stuff, I use them.
The Institute offers tests showing how damaged a patient's lungs may be.
We'll get a blood pressure screening, an x-ray, and then if they qualify, they'll be able to get a lung function test that measures how well they're able to breathe in and out.
Test results are soon sent to the coal miner with a detailed explanation about the condition of their lungs. In Whitesburg, Chandler Wilcox, WYMT Mountain News.
Reynolds also says there are ways to prevent black lung in coal mines through dust control and other methods. NEOSH will be at East Ridge High School conducting exams this weekend. A new report by the Kentucky Center for Economic Policy shows the funding gap between Kentucky's poorest and wealthiest school districts now surpasses the level that is declared unconstitutional. Nearly 3 decades ago, the issue was addressed in the Kentucky Supreme Court. Since then, the gap has widened. Julia Sandor gives us a deeper look into their findings.
Since 2017, the Kentucky Center for Economic Policy has watched the equity gap grow between the poorest and wealthiest school districts in the state. Going back to 1989, the Kentucky Supreme Court ruled the funding gap was inequitable.
Then in 1990, the legislature passed the Kentucky Education Reform Act, including some tax increases that paid for putting more money into schools, and that's when the gap shrank. But then slowly, starting in the 90s, it slowly started creeping back up until now we're back to where we were, or even worse than we were then.
Executive Director of the Kentucky Center for Economic Policy, Jason Bailey, explains that you can see the gap through teacher pay, class options, and resources.
They just differ broadly in between, the rural areas with low wealth, most of which are in eastern Kentucky, and then the higher wealth areas, most of which are in central Kentucky.
He says the Office of Education Accountability submitted a school finance report each year between 1992 and 2006. By 2006, they stopped their yearly report. By then, Bailey says the gap had already started to increase. Now the report shows that the per pupil gap reached nearly $4,000. And Bailey says the General Assembly can address these issues.
They have $3.7 billion sitting in the rainy day fund. So in the next budget, they could take a big stride toward moving things back in the right direction. That would be the first step. Now, to do that, they would have to forego more tax cuts. And so that's the big choice in front of the next session.
In Berea, Julia Sandor, WKYT.
The report also went on to say the General Assembly reduced the income tax rate to 4.5% at the start of this year. And next year, in 2024, it will be reduced to 4% without making any cuts to the budget. It also shows that those tax cuts could reduce general fund revenue by $1.3 billion per year by 2025. We continue to follow an incident on a school bus in Clark County that's drawing a lot of attention. A video showing a middle school student injured in the altercation was shared on social media. 3 days following the incident, parents of students within the school system are expressing their concerns with the district on social media, with certain parents anxious about the safety of their children. One parent says her daughter has been a target of bullying for several years.
You know, we trust schools. We send our kids to school to be safe, not to be hurt. I knew she was being assaulted before that, and then I never expected it to happen at school.
Chadwell says the bullying reached a boiling point last year when her daughter was attacked during school. She says these situations have had a major impact on her children. Disaster relief is an all-hands-on-deck situation, so officials working with Pike County recovery efforts are putting more boots on the ground. WYMT's Buddy Forbes has more about a meeting in the Virgie community this weekend that aims to offer assistance to the area.
After the floods soaked their security last July,
not knowing if there was going to be a way out, because there was many parts in our community where people were trapped.
Many people in Pike County still feel that same isolation.
Emotionally, psychologically, financially, we know that you're still struggling out there.
And as more than 1 year ticks by, some worry they will never recover or rebuild.
It's taking a little bit of time, we understand that, but there's help.
Pike County Relief Services is hoping to ease that burden, from volunteer projects to hosting community meetings.
Just to let you know that you're not left out, and we want your voice to be heard.
Sunday, those impacted in the Pike County area can seek guidance for their FEMA assistance appeals.
Our disaster relief case managers have been awesome, with feet on the ground here, connecting with flood survivors and building community and helping rebuild.
Sitting down with professionals through an SBP disaster recovery initiative, looking ahead at the next steps with case managers, contractors, and other resources.
So just able to help people in the community and just to see community coming together is awesome.
Planning together, hoping together.
We're just real happy to be able to provide this need for our community, and we're excited. We're excited that help is on the way.
Traveling the long road of recovery together. In Pike County, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
This meeting is the first of many next week, with SBP partners meeting in Jenkins on Monday, then Buckhorn and Jackson Tuesday. Find more information about these in-person assistance meetings on our website. One major roadway will be getting resurfaced starting early next week. Officials say US 25E will be getting repaved in both directions starting on Monday, and that's expected to continue through next Friday. The construction work will happen from mile point 3.5 to mile point 6.2 in Bell County. Officials say drivers should expect lanes to be closed from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Well, we are watching out for warm, muggy, and soggy weather for week 2 of high school football. Those details coming up after this break. Plus,
Memorial Coliseum in Lexington is receiving some major upgrades. We'll have an update on the progress.